She fell in love with her driver and had an affair with him. Then, her brother revealed to her that he has feelings for her and that she is not his biological sister. Now, she is confused about who to settle with. Who do you think she will choose? Let's find out. Kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest stories. One afternoon, Daniel brought home a brand new Lamborghini for his sister. She was thrilled and excited about the car he got for her. Meanwhile, Mira's brother and friend arrived at her house and were amazed by its beauty. They all enjoyed the excitement of the moment. The following day, Jennifer pleaded with her brother, Daniel, to let her drive the new car he bought for her. However, he refused, saying she couldn't drive and that he would hire a driver for her. Despite her pleas, he remained firm in his decision, and she left disappointed. That same evening, John tried to talk to a client, but his phone network was bad. His friend suggested that he use an American accent since he was communicating with an American. However, John struggled with his pronunciation, and they ended up arguing. Daniel, irritated by their conversation, took the wine and left. Meanwhile, Daniel covered Jennifer with a duvet as she slept. Mira teased him, complimenting him on how well he took care of his sister. They chatted for a while before she left. Later, Jennifer woke up, teased Daniel, and walked away, leaving him surprised that she had been pretending to be asleep all along. That same night, when Mira got home, she noticed the house was messy and complained. The following morning, Daniel's personal assistant came to his house. Jennifer offered her coffee, but she initially refused. However, Jennifer insisted, and the assistant eventually drank it before Daniel came downstairs. Then they left together. The following morning, Mira entered the living room and exclaimed at her brother and his friend to wake up. She insisted they hold their ears because she had important information to share. Grumbling, they did as she asked. Mira then scolded them, telling them to do something meaningful with their lives instead of waiting for clients to scam. Annoyed, they both grumbled and decided to drink alcohol, which provoked Mira to shout at them again. She then shared some good news. Her boss needed a driver. However, they both despised the idea and dismissed it, saying they couldn't drive. Frustrated, Mira left angrily. Later that day, Mira took a nice picture of Jennifer outside with her car. Meanwhile, John and his friend felt frustrated because their work had not yielded any positive results. They argued, and John urged his friend to consider taking the driving job, but he refused. That same day, Daniel and Jennifer were in a car as Daniel drove. They got along well, chatting with each other. The next day, Daniel and Jennifer played a game of Scrabble together, enjoying themselves. Mira joined in, and they all had a good time. The following day, Mira was on a phone call in the living room when John arrived and requested to speak with her. Before he could say anything, Mira assumed he was about to ask for money and quickly told him she had none to give. Meanwhile, Jennifer planned to go out with Daniel's personal assistant. Daniel, curious about their plans, questioned their whereabouts and insisted on tagging along. Jennifer refused, but Daniel persisted, saying he would blend in with their Gen Z vibe of dressing. This further displeased Jennifer. At that same moment, back at Mira's house, she was happy that John had finally agreed to take the driving job. She excitedly told him that the car he would be driving was a Lamborghini. Just then, Mira's brother entered the scene and teased her about the funny way she pronounced Lamborghini. Mira then asked her brother what his plans were and what he intended to do with his life. However, he responded unseriously, making meaningless plans and chatting with John, which deeply displeased Mira. Feeling emotional, she cried and prayed for him. The following day, Mira and John were at Daniel's apartment as he spoke to John about the driving job, asking if he could be trusted with his sister's car. John assured him, while Mira vouched for him, saying he was trustworthy and reliable. Then, Jennifer arrived, and Daniel introduced John to her as her driver. They discussed other details regarding the job. That same day, John's friend argued with him about taking the driving job, insisting that he should maintain their prestige. However, John ignored him and went inside. The next day, John was ready for his first day as a driver. Jennifer jokingly called him John the Baptist and briefed him on her schedule for the day. Then, they got into the car and drove off. That night, Jennifer and John arrived home late. Daniel came outside and scolded Jennifer for staying out too long. John quickly made up a lie to explain their tardiness, which Daniel believed before walking away. Jennifer then complimented John for covering for her. Later that night, John approached Mira and told her he was hungry. She gave him a condition. He had to buy her a data subscription first. He agreed, and she teased him before going to get him some food. The next day, Daniel was at his construction site, reviewing a building for his clients. That same night, Jennifer came home late again and tried to sneak into her room unnoticed. However, Daniel was still awake and questioned her about her lateness. Once again, John made up an excuse. And although Daniel was skeptical about their constant stories, he chose to ignore it. The following day, Jennifer confided in Daniel's personal assistant about how she felt about John. At first, the assistant dismissed her feelings, but later listened. That same day, Jennifer came downstairs, got dressed, and ready to go out. John entered and informed her that the car was ready. However, Daniel was displeased with her outfit, saying she looked half naked and ordered her to change into something more modest. Frustrated, Jennifer grumbled and left. Meanwhile, John's friend pleaded with Mira to give him access to her Wi-Fi, but she refused. They exchanged words before she eventually ignored him and left angrily. That night, Daniel reviewed his various building projects on his iPad. As he scrolled through, he stumbled across a picture of Jennifer and took a moment to admire it. At that moment, Jennifer sent John an anonymous message that read, "To avoid falling for your boss, do not adjust her hair or shoes." This message triggered his feelings and curiosity about her. The following morning, John entered the living room and saw Jennifer struggling to put on her shoes. The words from the anonymous message replayed in his mind. Ignoring the warning, he knelt down and helped her put on her shoes. Mira witnessed the scene, teased John about it, and left. Meanwhile, Daniel observed everything from upstairs before they all left. That night, Mira entered John's room intending to clean the floor, but John was displeased that she came in without knocking. They exchanged words for a while, before Mira warned him about his suspected affair with Jennifer, his boss's sister. The next day, Daniel discussed business plans with his personal assistant regarding their ongoing real estate projects. Meanwhile, Jennifer returned from shopping, and as she greeted John before heading upstairs, Daniel noticed a certain chemistry between them and grew suspicious. That night, Jennifer came to John's room with a glass of wine, intending to drink with him. The following day, John and Jennifer returned from another shopping trip, further fueling Daniel's suspicions, though he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was going on. That same day, John brought his boss's car to his house, and his friend complimented him on it. John clarified that the car wasn't his, but his friend took the opportunity to ask for 10,000 naira, which John transferred before his friend left. That night, Jennifer went to John's room and they recorded a video together. Meanwhile, Daniel struggled to sleep. He attempted to call Jennifer, but she didn't respond, as she was in John's room with him. The next morning, while Daniel was working on his iPad, Jennifer walked in. He immediately asked her why she hadn't answered his call the night before, but she made up excuses. Just then, John entered and greeted them. Jennifer responded by calling him "sweet boy," which only deepened Daniel's suspicions. The following day, Daniel was discussing business plans with his personal assistant when Jennifer arrived. She greeted him and then pulled his assistant aside, saying she had some gossip to share. Daniel watched John closely and sensed that something was going on between him and Jennifer. The next morning, John was in the living room when he and Jennifer started kissing. Mira witnessed the scene and immediately called him into the kitchen. Feeling displeased, she warned him about his relationship with Jennifer and advised him to focus on his job to improve his life. John then left. That night, John received a call from his friend, who asked for 100,000 naira. John told him he couldn't afford such an amount, which left his friend feeling disappointed and deep in thought. The next day, Jennifer spoke to her brother Daniel about John, revealing that he has a BSc in computer science, as well as a degree in AI engineering and data science. She also mentioned that John is highly knowledgeable about technology and asked Daniel to help him out. However, Daniel expressed concern that Jennifer talked about John too often and spent less time with him. Jennifer teased him, saying he was jealous, and then made a shocking confession. she was in love with John. This revelation left Daniel surprised. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep as he kept reflecting on Jennifer's confession about being in love with John. Meanwhile, John and Jennifer shared a romantic moment together when John's phone rang. He chose to ignore the call. Later that night, he called back, but his friend didn't answer. The next morning, Daniel questioned John about staying focused on the real reason he was employed. Jennifer then entered, greeted Daniel, and left with John while Daniel watched them. Feeling displeased, Daniel later expressed his frustration to his personal assistant, accusing her of being unprofessional. Upset, he asked her to leave. That same day, John's friend was annoyed with him for not answering his call. John tried to explain that he had been sleeping, but his friend was still upset. He then demanded 100,000 naira from John. Feeling irritated by his friend's arrogance, John decided to end their friendship and walked away. A few days later, Jennifer was crying in the living room while her friend consoled her. John walked in, concerned, and asked why she was crying, but she slapped him in frustration, accusing him of trying to scam her. John was confused and didn't understand what she meant. She then revealed that his friend had come to her and told her everything. Shocked, John tried to explain that it wasn't true, but Jennifer asked him to leave. At that moment, Daniel walked in, witnessed the scene, and without hesitation, ordered John to leave his house immediately. That same evening, John went to Mira's house and beat up his friend for lying to his boss about him before storming out. Meanwhile, at Daniel's house, he went to Jennifer's room and consoled her. The next day, Daniel bought a necklace for Jennifer, which she appreciated before going to her room. That night, Daniel visited Jennifer's room, and as they talked, he revealed a secret she never expected. He told her that she wasn't his biological sister, that his parents had taken her in when she was little, and that she actually belonged to another family. He then confessed that he was in love with her and had feelings for her. Jennifer was shocked by this revelation and asked Daniel to stop if it was a prank, but he was serious. She was speechless and didn't know what to say, and after a moment of silence, Daniel left. The next day, Jennifer sat in the living room, deep in thought about everything Daniel had told her. After much contemplation, she decided to give him a chance. Daniel then entered with food for her, and she told him that she had thought about everything he said and had decided to give him a chance. They hugged. The following day, they sat together in the living room, enjoying each other's company. Later, they went for a drive through the streets, getting along well. Days later, Jennifer fell ill. The doctor met with Daniel and revealed shocking news. Jennifer was pregnant. Daniel was stunned by the discovery. That night, Daniel confronted Jennifer about the pregnancy. She apologized, and the moment was filled with tension for both of them. Later that evening, Daniel lay awake, unable to sleep, his mind consumed by the thought of Jennifer being pregnant with John's child. Meanwhile, Jennifer also couldn't sleep. She felt the heavy burden of her pregnancy as she stared at a photo of John. The following day, John went to Jennifer's house and explained that he truly loved her. He told her that everything his friend had said was a lie, meant to ruin his reputation because he refused to go along with his friend's dubious manipulations. Jennifer then revealed that she was pregnant. John was shocked by this discovery, but insisted that they keep the child, only promising to be a responsible father. At that moment, Daniel walked in, witnessed the conversation, and, without hesitation, punched John, intending to beat him up. Jennifer quickly intervened, telling him to stop. John then explained everything again, emphasizing that his friend had lied. As the tension eased, Daniel remained silent for a moment before walking away. The next day, they all gathered at the dining table. Just as they finished praying and were about to eat, Daniel suddenly called John's name, interrupting the moment. The tension in the room grew as everyone thought Daniel was about to express his anger again. Instead, he looked at John and said, "Welcome to the family." Relieved and happy, they all smiled as Daniel insisted that John take good care of Jennifer. They then enjoyed their meal together in harmony. So guys, if you enjoyed this story, kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest stories.